What's up, everybody? Hey, YouTube. Haven't done a live in a while, so I thought I'd just pop in and say hello. Hope all is well. I'm going to do kind of a little best of the best, my little quick recap here of 2021. And I'm also going to do an AMA. So if there's something that you'd like to talk about, leave your comment for me. Always let me know where you're watching from. Let's say my little comment here. Hello, everyone. Where are you guys at? Where are you watching from? Good morning. And let me know where you're watching from in the world. I'm here in beautiful Los Angeles. We've had a little bit of rain, but it's been nice. Got a couple people coming on. Yes, I thought I would just sort of recap and talk about some of the highlights of this year, some of the things that I've learned. This channel is all about brands and branding. So I'm also going to do this AMA where, we can talk about your questions that you want to know, or talk about answers to questions that you want to know regarding branding or brand strategy or marketing, some of the things I know a little bit about, production. If you're new to YouTube or you're thinking about creating a channel, you can ask me that, or a podcast. I've got probably the highest growth so far in the last couple of years from our audio channel on Spotify, iTunes, then Google Play is probably third, but it's just cranking. So audio is big this year. What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome. Kevin's in the house. Aaron's in the house. Nisha's in the house. Someone's kitchen. I wish I could pronounce it. I don't want to butcher the name. Salah's in the house. What's up, people? What's good? Just thought I'd pop in here, say hello. It's been a while since I've done a live, and I've been thinking a lot about the year. I'm always kind of reflective this time of year. What we did well, what we could improve on, what I learned, some of the plans I'm making for next year. Raise your hand if you have a YouTube channel. I'm just curious if you're interested in, like the production aspect of making a channel. Most of you may not know that. So we have this channel, and then we also manage channels for some of our clients. And so we have a ton of key learning that we do from our own channel that we, experiment on. We use this as the laboratory. We figure out how to get things right. We make all the mistakes here on our own channel, and then we go and we advise our clients, and they learn from our mistakes, and it's a lot better that way, because then we sort of vet all the ideas, and we sort of know what works and what doesn't work. And so yeah, leave me your question. Let me know what you want to know. I'm going to kind of run through a highlight of some of the things that I noticed this year. And probably the first highlight was meeting author Robert Greene. How many of you watched that interview with Robert? I mean, the legend, the man, the myth. He was pretty incredible. Many of you may not know that. Well, first of all, let me back up who Robert is. So Robert he's written several iconic books. Probably the most popular is the somewhat controversial 48 Laws of Power. And he has a new book out called The Daily Laws. But the 48 Laws of Power really kind of put him on the map. And I got to meet him for the first time. He sort of lives kind of close to me. And so we were able to meet. And in 2018, I think Robert had a stroke. So he's had some health challenges, but he's slowly but surely, getting stronger, bouncing back. And I was just really impressed with his story, his resilience. So for those of you who don't know, I'll share a little bit of inside baseball with you. Inside baseball is a term, if you don't know it, it just kind of means like insider information or behind the scenes kind of stuff. Um, my perception of Robert was really different before I met him. I read the 48 Laws and I read all, not all of his books, but most of his other books, Law of Seduction, some of these things, um, or The Art of Seduction. And I kind of thought Robert was this narcissist, kind of a jerk. I didn't know what to expect, but I came in, open-minded, wanted to meet the man, and I was very pleasantly wrong and surprised. When I heard Robert's story in the context of where he came from, Robert, by his own words, in his own explanation, was a failure. He was sort of at the end of his rope. He was a middle-aged guy living in Los Angeles, trying to be a screenwriter, trying to make ends meet, and just failing miserably. No one was buying his work. No one was interested in what he was selling. He was drinking more and more, and just sort of kind of miserable. And then he took this job, and he talked about how many jobs he had. He had 50, 60, 70, 80 jobs, in his lifetime, working for all kinds of people, good bosses and bad bosses, but mainly bad bosses, he says. And on this one trip to Italy, a man who he was working with was also in the publishing business, and he asked Robert, do you happen to have any ideas for a book? Because he knew that Robert was a writer, written screenplays. And in that moment, he sort of had this sort of in the flow state, the ability to draw from his, I don't know, his pain, and having sand kicked in his face so often from, people in authority over him. He said, yes, I do have an idea for a book. It's a book about power and how the haves really punish and persecute the have-nots. And it's really a book for the underdog to learn how to deal with the people that may be taking advantage of them. And that's how the 48 Laws came about. It was very surprising for me to hear that story, because I thought Robert, of course, he's a white male and he's born in the United States, so automatically he has a certain amount of privilege. Let's establish that. I'm not saying that's not the case, but in Robert's situation, he was sort of destitute. He was sort of a failure, again, in his own words, and didn't have much hope of doing anything else. I mean, he'd worked odd jobs. He'd done just about everything that you can do in terms of part-time work. He'd been in food service. He, built things. He, carried things. Anyway, so this book was really like his Hail Mary pass. It was like his last hope. And the publisher was very intrigued. And this man said, you know what, I'll pay for a full year for you to live here in Europe and write this book. And then we'll partner on it and we'll see how it goes. And so that was sort of like his opportunity. He doubled down. He took it. He wrote this story of the 48 laws, or 48 lessons, really, from his perspective of what he learned from being used and abused by awful people that he worked for. And he was funny because he said that all the allegory or the metaphor or the analogy or the stories that he told of kings and queens and princes and princesses, he really just changed the names, and those were actually his bosses, the people that he worked for. So he's kind of sort of secretly, confidentially telling the stories of his own tales, just put in the in the stories of the 48 Laws. So that's sort of a little bit of a inside baseball for you about meeting the legend Robert Greene. Of course, I was completely won over. Robert's terrific. He's genius. And he also knows that he's one of the few people in the world that can kind of write in this genre of power or seduction, or, sort of become his thing. And he certainly understands how valuable it is. He knows that not everyone can do it like he does. Not everyone wants to do it like he does. And so he sort of claimed, put a stake in the ground and kind of claim that territory so that he can be king of the hill. And again, that's also sort of part of his power play, I think. But it's awesome, Robert Greene. I'm going to pause here just to see if anyone has any questions for me before I keep talking about stuff. As I mentioned before, if you're just now joining me, welcome. Hi, I'm Brian. This is my channel. I don't always get to talk directly to camera. Usually I'm talking to a guest or, doing something else. So I love engaging with you and hearing your questions and getting to know you and allowing you to get to know me a little bit better. I am broadcasting here from my little home studio office in Los Angeles. I started this channel about 10 years ago, 10 plus years ago, actually. And I do it because it lights me up. I love doing it. I feel like this channel is making an impact, if not on anyone else, but on me. And I love being able to interact with you guys, the fans, but also with the guests that come on the show because, um, in my opinion, the people who I get to talk to are some of the smartest, most interesting people on the planet. And so it's an amazing opportunity. Hey, Pete, what's going on? If you're just joining me, stop by, leave me a comment, let me know where you're watching from, and maybe something else interesting about you that we may not know from the comments. I'm also doing like a little AMA, so ask me anything if you want to know anything about something I know a little bit about, like video production, managing a YouTube channel, brand strategy. Salah said he wants to know, let's talk about how to build a brand from scratch. Okay. Um, Not easy. I guess the first question is, Salah, and you may not be able to answer, but try. Uh, why do you want to build a brand from scratch? Like, what's the point? What are you trying to accomplish? The first thing that comes to mind when I hear that question is, have you determined that there's a significant amount of demand for what you want to make? And if so, like, where's your proof? How do you know? I think a lot of people get the order of operations wrong when they're starting a company or trying to build a brand. They have this great idea and they jump right out there and they start making it. Or, if you have a product, maybe they'll make samples or they'll make a dye, and then they'll race out to go get it produced, which can sometimes be pretty expensive. Um, or if you're a service-based, SaaS-based, whatever, you'll write the code, you'll develop the website, you'll come up with a business plan, you'll get all the features and benefits correct, and then you'll launch it. And I think that is out of order. I think you're doing it in the wrong order. And the reason I say that is because you may think it's a great idea, but like, how do you know? Is it just your gut instinct? I don't think that's enough. At least it wouldn't be enough for me. I would want to really mitigate my risk more by identifying an audience and making sure that I've got a solution to their problem that they actually want. Now, that's not to say that sometimes your audience might not know they have the problem that they have. And so it's also a good idea if you're starting a brand from scratch to possibly, especially if you're innovative or you're a new product or service, to try and invent a problem that doesn't exist and let your audience know about it so that they can understand that, hey, I actually do have a problem. And when I say the word problem, it can also mean, like enhancing your life. I'll give you an example. In 2005, well, prior to 2006, um, the cell phone business was a boring business. You had the Palm Pilot and the BlackBerry and some of these other, flip phones. And so the cell phone business was kind of boring. And then 2006, 2007, I think it was 2007, Apple, Steve Jobs announces the very first iPhone. And Steve and Apple kind of did what I'm talking about. They let us all know that the phones that we were using were sort of, limited, and they introduced apps and, um, the ability to sort of do the touch screen and swipe and do email and all the things that we were doing with the BlackBerry Palm Pilot, but then they took it to the next level. We had no idea what was possible until Steve let us know that our phones were boring or not very functional or not very high tech. They didn't do very much. And basically, what he did is he put a computer in our pocket. And then a little bit later, he put a phone in every pocket. So that changed the game. And so there's kind of two examples of the iPhone being two things that we didn't anticipate or know that we needed. And then all of a sudden, everybody needed it, right? Like, what would you do without your phone now if you couldn't just like snap a photo of your friend or your kids, or if uh, you couldn't go to the get food and like take a picture of the food and then like know the calorie count or scan something or something like that. So yeah, the phone kind of changed the game. So Salah, that's the first thing I would do with starting a brand from scratch is figure out whether or not you have a product or service that people are already clamoring for. Will you be able to solve a problem? Can you identify who you're talking to? And I would really start from there. Peter wants to know, what are the books over here? Oh, maybe, let's see. What's that book on your left, third shelf, has all the colors? Oh, okay. That is Seth Godin's Behemoth book. That is, yeah. Yeah, it is Seth Godin. Yeah, that's his big book. In limited, there's a limited run done, and actually, I have a couple of unboxed copies. The book originally sold at retail for $400. It's massive. It's called the Big Book, the Behemoth. It probably weighs 20 pounds, but it's a collector's item, because they did a minimum run. But when I did an event with Seth last year, he gave me a bunch to give away to my fans, and so I actually have a couple squirreled away, and I might be able to be talked into letting a couple of them go if someone was interested. Depending on where you are in the world, I could probably ship it to somewhere in the U.S. But yeah, Peter. Again, the book originally sold for $400, but I sort of got it at cost, so I guess that would be about $200. But I think like if you bought it and you resold it on Amazon or eBay, you might be able to fetch $500-600 for it. Who knows? Because it's in high demand, short supply. Shoot me an email. Here's my email address, and we can work that out if you want. Let me know where you're at. But it's a tremendous book. I mean, if you love Seth, it's gorgeous. And like I said, for me, it's a collector's item. Thanks for asking. So, what other questions do you have about some of the things I know a little bit about? I know a little bit about brand strategy. I know a little bit about marketing and advertising. Some of you may not know that my production company, in addition to producing this show Behind the Brand for this YouTube channel, I also do film and commercial work. So I'm an active commercial director. We do documentary films. I'm committed to do one full-length film a year. And we also do original content or managing channels for other brands and celebrities. And if you look at my website, which I think is probably, there's a link somewhere on the channel, you can see get a glimpse into some of the other brands and celebrities that we are creating content for. And that's a lot of fun because, like I said, I use Behind the Brand in many ways like a laboratory, an experiment. Like, I have no problem making mistakes that affect me. And then I can just work out all the kinks, get the wrinkles out. And then when I go advise clients, as I build their channel, then it's like it's easier, at least mentally, on me, knowing that I've already tried this and I know what works and I know what fails. And we've had some really good success. I think one of the channels that I'm thinking about, we started building this celebrities channel. They had about 8,000 subs, and they were making no money. They didn't have monetization turned on. And we looked at it and we said, this is a gold mine. One, because the person that we work with has a lot of, great IP right up here, intellectual property. And they're also on TV. And so they're, already well known. It's a no brainer to go on YouTube and create great content. And so we did that. And probably within as 9 months or maybe 12 months, we took the channel from 8,000 subs and some of the old videos collecting cobwebs to about 500,000 subscribers. And then for them, in terms of monetization, they were really happy because we were grossing about $30,000 a month for them on their channel, just with AdSense revenue. So $30K a month from zero to 500,000 subs, or zero money to $30K a month reoccurring. They were pretty happy. They are still pretty happy. So, we have a little bit of expertise. We have the advantage of having this channel, partnerships with YouTube and other important people. And so that's a big part of what we do and how we monetize, mainly because all this is free. So anyway, if you have any questions about production or you want to know about YouTube, now is the time to ask. We're in about 21 minutes here. I don't have a ton of time, but I have a little bit of time to answer some of your questions. I love engaging with you guys and trying to help you out. Just popping in and say hello. What else do you want to know? Let's see. Peter won't let you send an email. Looks like, well, you're just sending the email outside of YouTube. I mean, you don't need to send it inside. Just send me an email to my email address, Email is valid. It's brian@thegoodbrain.com. Make sure you don't misspell it. My first name's easy to misspell. It's Bryan. And the good brain, not the good Brian, the good brain, like the brain in your head. Make sure you send it to there. You can also go to the description in the YouTube area. There's links back to my website where my email is listed. It's the same email. Or you can click, for business inquiries, and it'll send me an email that way too. So something I think is going on with your end, not mine. But you can also DM me if you want on Instagram. So my Instagram handle is one good brain. Oops, let's see, one good brain. So that's my Instagram handle. You can DM me if that works for you easier. One way or the other, we will connect. So let's see. I'm sorry, I don't want to read your name wrong, but someone asked, what moved you to do what you do on YouTube? So prior to this, I had a big job at the Hollywood studios. I worked for Universal Pictures. I was on the brand marketing and strategy team, and I loved it. I mean, I had a huge budget. I spent a lot of the studio's money marketing and advertising movies. I got a chance to kind of put my little toe into the production side when we started creating added value on the DVDs and video on demand. I didn't make movies. I was in the market brand strategy and marketing department that was selling DVDs, the movies on DVD. But we needed to put more on the DVD than just the movie, so we would add like bloopers or alternative ending or director's commentary, actor's commentary. And that's when I got a chance to get a taste of, production with lights, camera, action. And I found myself, in the studio with actors and other people, and I knew that I wanted to pivot from the brand team to production. But I didn't want to be Spielberg, I didn't want to make big movies. I wanted to really tell stories, documentary stories, or true life stories, real stories, instead of fiction. Nonfiction, I love this genre. Um, and so I sort of just gravitated towards telling the docu story. And so when I cut the cord at the studio and started this production company, I knew that I wanted to do documentary films, but also mini docs. And being an entrepreneur for the first time, really, um, I realized I didn't have all the answers. And I kind of was panicking and fearful that my new startup, my new company, would not be successful without help. And so I started reaching out to people for help or asking advice. And then I thought, you know what? I should just make a show out of this. I'm sure there's a lot of other people just like me who are wanting to start their own business or become an entrepreneur. And so I documented everything and started filming the interviews and asking better questions about, what's the secret sauce? How are you successful? And that's how Behind the Brand, the channel, was born. It's really been a show about innovators, entrepreneurs, and the stories, behind their success, to sort of reveal to you and to me how they did it so that we can be successful like them, take a page from their playbook. And, I've done 500 plus interviews on this channel with no plans of slowing down. In fact, we're doubling down on content. We're doing bigger and better stories. And hopefully you guys are getting a little something out of it so that you can grow your business or grow your personal brand, or think of other creative, innovative ways to find your flow state, to find your dream job, do what you really love doing. I love doing this. It lights me up. I am so excited to wake up every morning to do my job. And I'm also so lucky because I get to sit down or sit next to, in front of, some pretty amazing people. If you think about it, over the years, uh, people like Robert Greene or Seth Godin, Simon Sinek. I was just sitting down with Dan Reynolds of Imagine Dragons. Dan was incredible. Um, he shared all this really personal information about how he's gone through this journey of mental health and he's battled depression. Here he is, this very famous rock star. He's got plenty of money, and yet he struggles with depression and mental health. And he just got real with me, and it was really refreshing to hear that even people who are rich and famous have problems. I have problems too, so do you. And he shared a lot of insights about how to cope and deal with what he's going through. And I think, I know, that particular interview with Dan, because he was so candid, will end up saving lives. The things that he said will help a lot of people. And I guess that's why I do this channel too, is for impact. It doesn't have to impact, I'm not MKBHD. I'm not Casey Neistat. I'm not David Dobrik, not Logan Paul. That's fine. I'm me and I'm doing my thing in this space. And if there's 10 people right here on this live, so be it. It's quality over quantity. So if I could just help one person, I'm totally satisfied. And guess what? Here's a secret. That one person is usually me. So I'm good. Like, I'm super happy and I love doing this. I hope that you find, or you have found, your passion, your element to be in. And yeah, someone says, who's Logan Paul? Yeah, well, look it up. Um, let's see. The question is, do you have anyone new lined up for another live interview? Seth Godin, etc., etc. Yeah, course. There's a whole lineup that you'll get to see if you're subscribed to 2022. We have big things happening. I have big plans. We're going to do, hopefully, if the pandemic quiets down, if we can get over that hump, then we will have these live events where it's sort of like live in front of a studio audience. So we'll invite a few hundred people to come if you're in LA, or if I do one in New York or somewhere else. But we'll also stream it remotely, so that if you're in Sri Lanka or if you're in London, you can watch it there as well, live or recorded. We'll record it for everyone, and those should be a lot of fun. All right, we're about at the 30-minute mark. If you have more questions for me, put it down now, because I got to bounce pretty soon. I've got some other, we have a couple of new clients we're working with. I can't announce it yet, but I can give you a little hint. 彼女はね、すごく、素晴らしい人なんですよ。So one of our new clients, I'm excited to sort of sign the agreement and get things going. We're going to start in January. It should be a lot of fun. But I'll keep you posted. Jeff wants to know, was Dan from Imagine Dragons your best interview of 2021? It's up there on the list. I would say, so that's just to run through some of my highlights. I would say Dan is up there in the top for sure, without a question. So talented. Robert Greene is certainly up there on one of my highlights. Who else? Let's scroll through 2020 and let's remember who we talked to. Let me go to my channel. There we go. I'll see what you guys are seeing. Videos. Oh, there I am live. 2021. Oh, how can I leave off Wim Hof? Wim Hof, the Iceman. That was super fun for me, because many of you know that I've like rebooted my health. I'm feeling 1,000% better than I was even just 6 months ago. I've done this sort of Wim Hof breathing method. I've got back to the gym. I've lost about 15 pounds. I'm feeling like super strong. I got the gains going back again. And I give some of that credit, if not all of it, to Wim Hof, who kind of helped me rethink how important health is, mental health, physical health. But I started doing the cold therapy plunges. I have a couple of videos. I hope you guys have seen those, where I cold plunge into like 45-degree water. I've been taking colder showers. So I take a hot shower. My showers last for about 7 minutes, maybe 10 minutes at the most. But so if it's a 10-minute shower, because the math is easy, 6 or 7 minutes is nice hot water. I do all my washing and all that. And then the last 3 or 4 minutes, I just crank it all the way to ice cold. And that has been super invigorating. It's like good for cardiovascular, great for circulation. It helps with inflammation. Really get your blood pumping. You do not need a coffee in the morning if you are cold plunging or if you're taking cold showers. And it's also great for metabolism, as well as immunity or immune health. Keeps you healthier. There's all sorts of benefits. So Wim Hof was definitely up there with Dan and Robert Greene. Let's see. There's another question here. I assume prepare your interviews, but it might take another turn or twist during the interview. How would you call? Let's see. I'm trying to interpret this question. How would you call your thrive to do so? Oh, I see. Curiosity, fascination, personal connection. Yeah. Okay. It's a great question. So basically, you're asking, you assume that I have things planned, like where I want to take it, and then it takes a turn and there's a surprise left turn or something like that. That is true. Although a secret is I don't have the questions planned in advance. So I do my research. Like, so if, Robert has a new book out, or if Dan drops a new album, I listen to it or I read the book, and then I kind of collect my own thoughts. But on purpose, I do not prepare the questions in advance, because I don't want it to be so prepared. I want it to be more organic, and I really want to see where it's going to go. So yes, absolutely. My curiosity, my fascination, um, my interest in that subject allows me to go with the flow. I think it's a Bruce Lee quote. He said, and if I'm quoting this wrong, but like, there's you're the vase. You're either the vase or the water in the vase. And Bruce said, you should be the water in the vase to be able to adapt to any shape or environment that you're in. And that's sort of how I try to do my interviews. I try to adapt to the shape of my guest. And then the last thing I'll say about that is really I'm trying to ask the questions I think you want to know. So, after I asked what I want to know, then start thinking about you guys and start wondering, well, how can I bring value to you? What might you want to know if you're starting your business or building your brand, or you're in a struggle right now with mental health or physical health, like I have been the last couple of years, just trying to. I'm getting older, okay? I'm sorry, but it happens. And you have to do things differently if you want things to change. And so I've been trying to figure that out. But that's a terrific question. Peter wants to know, how many times a day do you do breathing method? First, I'll say I should do it every day. The honest answer is I end up doing it probably my rule is I can skip one day, but not 2 days. So I try to do it every day. When I don't do it every day, I do not allow myself to skip 2 days. So there it is. And the same goes with the gym. So I'm in the gym. If I can get there every day, I go. I went today. I felt really strong. It was great. But on the days that I'm too tired, I'll skip one day, but I do not allow myself to skip 2 days. I will say, again, with honesty, when I go just to fulfill the goal, it's not always the best workout. I don't always feel strong. Sometimes I'm just like, dragging my ass on the treadmill, or I'm reluctantly, lifting. So like I have better quality days at the gym than others. But the point for me is consistency. And so I'm there, I'm doing it. I'm seeing results. I'm seeing gains. So I'm psyched. Would you care to guess how my bench press max has improved? So when I started, my bench press max was really, really low. Any guesses on what it is now in pounds? If you can guess pounds, how many pounds can I bench press one time on the flat bench press? Take your guess. I'll tell you where I started, and I'll tell you where I am now. 180 is a good guess. So for context, I weighed about 190 pounds about 6 months ago. Now I'm down to 170. So I've lost almost 20 pounds. So 180 is a good guess, but I can bench press more than my weight. And I can bench press above 180. Any other guesses before I tell you? No other guesses? Okay. 250 is another good guess. Right now, and I'll write it in the comments, my max is 265. Yes. I'm shocked. And I got to 265 by just incremental gains. I started with really lightweight, heavy, several reps, basically like 15 reps, 4 sets, and just working my way up I started, I think, at like 100 pounds, which was pretty pathetic. So I started like at 100 pounds, just, starting from scratch. I was getting those looks at the gym, but I didn't care. I just did my thing. And week over week, just started adding weight little by little. Didn't try to lift really heavy. And then like a month ago, I put those 245s on each side, which I think was like, plus the 45-pound bar was like 225 pounds. And I'm like, I wonder if I can even do this. And I busted out like 4 of them. I was like, whoa, all right, gains, all right. And so each week I sort of put a little bit more weight on, put a little bit more weight to see where I'm at just as a benchmark. And this last week was at 265. So to get to 300, I mean, that's like, for me, almost impossible. I wouldn't, but now it seems reachable. Like maybe by the summer of next year, maybe I'll be at 300. That would be phenomenal. It's almost like unthinkable for someone like me. I just have never been able to lift heavy weights, but again, slow, steady, incremental progress has been the key. All right. Any other questions that you want to know? This is an Ask Me Anything. If you're just tuning in, if you're new, let me know where you are watching from. I'm in Southern California. I'm in the Los Angeles area, and love to know where you're watching from. If you are a new subscriber or you're a longtime fan, and then I'm happy to answer any of your questions about some of the things I know a little bit about, whether that's video production, YouTube channel management, YouTube channel audience growth, marketing and advertising, brand strategy. Lay it down because I'm going to bounce pretty soon. So let me know. I mean, one of the funnest things I do, Netherlands, sweet. One of the funnest things for me is just to engage with all of you, because I make the video, I hit publish, and then I'm off making the next video. And so I don't get a lot of time to talk with all of you. So this is super fun. I can talk about another highlight of 2021. I would say, let's just scroll through some of the vids here. Yeah. Some of the people I've had on the show are somewhat controversial. I can think of Tillman Fertitta. If you don't know who Tillman is, he's, a multi-billionaire. Is that my license plate? It's not real, but I had it made because my company's called the Good Brain Digital Studios, and so when I do car reviews, I'll put it on the car for the video or for photograph purposes. It's just kind of a fun keepsake. But Tillman, he owns all these casinos. He owns 40 different restaurant brands. He is also the owner of an NBA basketball team, the Houston Rockets, and his interview was great. I was really impressed. This is one of the ones I did earlier this year. Again, he's sort of a controversial figure because he's outspoken, he's Texan, he has no filter, he has enough money, to buy up anything he wants, so he doesn't care what he says. But I thought his advice about business was really solid. And the takeaway from Tillman Fertitta was, like, the devil's in the details. So he's the type of guy that, if he goes to a restaurant and one of the neon letters in the sign is burnt out, like, that drives him crazy. It drives me crazy too. I don't know why you would let your brand, let that happen to your brand. It's just like, it's so bad. It's just like so easily fixed, these little cosmetic things, but like, it says so much about your brand if you don't fix it. Same thing goes with, like, if, again, this restaurant example, if there's trash in your parking lot and the place just looks dirty and run down, that really, again, this show is all about brands. We talk about branding. That is such a negative on your brand. And remember what brand or branding is. It's the experience that other people have when they come in contact with your product or service. And so you may think or talk about what your brand is, but really the meaning of your brand or the relevance of your brand lives in the hearts and minds of the people who are your clients. So if there's trash in the parking lot, or one of the letters in your neon sign is out, you may think you're a 5-star restaurant, but other people may think you're a 2-star restaurant and never show up. They might think this, the amount of care you're giving to the sign or the parking lot is the same amount of care you give to the food or the cleanliness. So it really makes a big difference. So Tillman's interview was, I think, super important for me to remember. how important the little details matter, especially if they're customer facing. Of course, I met Justin Kahn. Justin's the co-founder of Twitch. That was a really interesting one. Another billionaire, um, Marie Kondo. The joy of tidying up. Marie was terrific, super dynamic, um, amazingly talented. She's the new Martha Stewart. I just think that was incredibly helpful for me to think about. You know, uh, it's not about it's not minimalism. Marie's method is not just getting rid of everything. It's only holding on to the things that really bring you joy, that are really meaningful. So I'll give you an example. Um, my dad passed away uh, recently, and towards the end of his life, he started painting a lot. He wasn't very talented. I mean, he was okay for what he was. He was amateur. It's not going to be hanging in any museum anytime soon, or selling at Christie's auctions. But um, those pictures are very sentimental to me, very meaningful because he painted them, and he's no longer with us. And so, even though they may not look like much to other people, that sparks joy for me. And so that's the kind of thing that has sentimental value that I want to keep. On the other hand, I have a drawer full of jeans that I don't wear anymore because I've lost weight, or maybe they're out of style. And so I put those in a big pile. I took them to Goodwill, and I donated those, and I gave them away because they no longer bring me joy. And now I have more space in my drawer. And Marie's method is also about sort of clearing your mind, right? Like, so there's this idea of a cluttered desk can sometimes equal a cluttered mind. That actually happens with me. The more I'm organized, the more I'm, uh, yeah, prepared with things. I can work more efficiently, but also my mind is freed up to be more creative and do the things that I'm good at. So I would still love to hear from you guys. We have just a couple more minutes here before I'm going to bounce. Uh, Another question here is, what are brands you love or disappointed by, or maybe disappointed in their branding strategy? Yeah, I don't want to talk too much shit about other brands. There are some, definitely. I'm not going to call them out right here. Maybe I'll do a case study about them, because I think, in some cases, the last 2 years have really been unique, in the pandemic. Certainly, some have risen to the occasion. Um, and I'll think about something that I learned from the team at Salesforce.com. And one of the things that they say at Salesforce is that you need to be able to do business at the speed of where the market is headed. So a good example of that is when the pandemic hit. If you're in food service, or you're in medical service, or frankly any if you design t-shirts and print t-shirts, anything that you have to order and pick up, not like Amazon where you order it and it shows up at your doorstep. But if you're a business or a service, if you did not respond and adapt to the pandemic by having like a curbside cashier, or curbside drop off or pickup, if you didn't adapt to the changing landscape, how things are changing, you're screwed. You're out of business. You're shut down. And so, what brands disappointed me? Uh, I think the brands that did not respond well during the pandemic to meet our needs, whatever those needs were, really failed, missed a big opportunity. And some of them are already out of business. They had to shut their doors because they couldn't compete. I mean, movie theaters, that they couldn't help it, right? Like, but uh, I saw some people trying to respond by creating a drive-in movie experience. That was interesting and unique. That's memorable. And I think, again, the companies that responded and adapted to the changing needs and and wants of the people were the true winners over 2020 and 2021. So I'll leave it at that. Let's see. Mr. Goyat asks, how was your interview with, who is that? I'm not sure who you're talking about. Let's see, another memorable one. Did you see the video with Katie Milkman? Katie Milkman is a scientist who teaches at the Wharton School of Business in Pennsylvania. She's written a book, and again, another memorable interview because she talks a lot about basically how to make change happen in your life, and it's not the easiest thing to do. But she talked about this idea of temptation bundling, which kind of sticks in my head. And what temptation bundling is, of course, it's we all have to be accountable and govern ourselves. We have to tell our brain to be quiet sometimes, or you don't want to eat that, or you shouldn't eat that, or you should do this. But she talks about temptation bundling as setting up a reward system for yourself when you do things you don't necessarily want to do. So in her case, she loves to play tennis. And so what she said is, if I can, get my schoolwork done. So she grades papers because she has students. If I can grade all the papers by 3 p.m. on a certain day, then I can go play tennis. And on the weekend, she might, reward herself with going shopping or something that she wants to do, or traveling to a certain destination, spending a certain amount of money. So again, she attaches the reward to this difficult task, which she herself decides is important because she knows it's going to help her progress, or get smarter, or accomplish a goal, or land a new client, whatever that is, and then attaches it. I thought that was kind of a brilliant strategy to actually make a change in your life. Oh, I see. So Mr. Goya is referring to the guru. I have not had the pleasure of interviewing this person, so um, I don't know. I haven't interviewed them. Peter also asks about the metaverse. Do you think it will change the way we brand, market, and advertise? Absolutely. I think the jury is still out on what the metaverse is going to look like. If you're old like me, you remember this thing called Second Life, and it's basically, it was a virtual world, and in many aspects, the online multiplayer games like Fortnite or Call of Duty, these are sort of like metaverse style games where we can take actions virtually, earn rewards that can be cashed out for other things and purpose. So we've been sort of living in the metaverse for a while. I think it will continue to evolve. I don't love the Oculus goggles. They make me kind of dizzy and like nauseous. I don't think that's a technology that's ready for mass use yet. I think there's a lot of room for growth. Um, but Web 3.0 is certainly here, and the metaverse is probably part of that. I've talked to a lot of people who know what they're talking about. Gary Vaynerchuk is certainly hyped on the metaverse. He's hyped on NFTs. He's hyped on cryptocurrency. He's excited about the future, and I believe. Well, I used to think that all that was maybe 5 or 10 years from now, and now I totally changed my mind. It's already been here. I didn't realize, creeping up, sneaking up on all of us, and it's very exciting. Actually, I think it's a good thing to embrace. I am currently not investing in cryptocurrencies, although I'm very um, curious, and I'm in the learner mode. So Gary suggested to give me advice. He said, do 50 or 60 hours of research on both crypto and NFTs. So that's, in my calculation, about 120 hours worth of research. I'm about halfway into my research. Um, but it's certainly clear that cryptocurrency in some form, whether that's Ethereum or Bitcoin or Dogecoin or the 50 other currencies that exist, it is our future. In fact, it's our present. It's already happening right under our nose. And big institutions and governments are adopting this probably faster than we know, for it to probably someday soon be regulated, or at least have a little bit more foundation than it does right now. It's very exciting times. A lot of people are getting rich, and a lot of people are losing all their money. So if and when, no, not if, when I decide to get in the game, I'm going to only start experimenting with the amount that I can afford to lose, because it's sort of like stock market or like gambling at this point, mainly because I don't know very much, right? So I'll be cautiously experimenting, trying things, and seeing how it works out. NFTs, this is easy for me to understand because of the digitization movement, which happened basically in the late 90s, into the 2000s. Everything became digitized. We started sending PDFs instead of faxes, and so to me, NFT is the next iteration of the digitization of goods. The main difference is that it's attached to the blockchain, which is supposedly unhackable, completely secure and encrypted and safe and trackable and linear, right? If I want to send, um, if I buy a house in Paris, I can have the deed sent to me in Los Angeles, and I can know that it's legit, that I'm the sole owner. It's verified digitally and securely. Um, and so I think NFTs will become pretty much daily use very soon. In the next couple of years, your passport could become an NFT. The deed to your house, the deed to your car. Um, if you create original music or video like I do, or art, or anything that you want to put your stamp of ownership on, proof of ownership will be, I think, through NFTs. So if you don't know anything about it, you can watch a couple of the videos on my channel with Gary, with who is the crypto king? Who did I have on? Novogratz, um, Michael Novogratz, and he's amazing. He broke it down for me, and I instantly became convinced that he was right. So check that out. All right, guys, we're coming up on the 1 hour mark. I'm going to say my goodbyes. I want to say thank you for watching. I'll be back. I'm doing a lot of prep, and we've got a ton more videos coming out, even between now and the end of the year. Stuff that I've shot that's in the can that I'm excited to release. I'm trying to insert myself more into the videos to make it a little bit more personal, to put my, step up to the mic a little bit and give you my insights, because I feel like, I, unlike some of the other hosts of these shows, I'm not a, multimillionaire, and I'm in the struggle every day, just like you guys, building my business, growing my business, trying to, making mistakes, figuring out what to do right. And so I'm producing this show as if I'm you, and I'm going to try and give you my 2 cents about what I've learned. And then you can also hear about like what Mark Cuban has to say about it, but I'll put my stamp on it too and try to personalize a little bit more. All right. I appreciate you guys. We're going to end the stream, and we'll talk to you soon.